Tonight, the latest in this week's tragedy in Brooklyn. Alleged New York City subway shooter Frank James appearing in court today. The charges he's facing.
We were able to shrink his world quickly. There was nowhere left for him to run.
And bus to the Capitol. A group of willing migrants transported to Washington, D.C. What Texas governor is saying. Plus, negotiating a deal. Starbucks workers in Ithaca voted to unionize last week, but what's next? And egg prices might be higher next time you head to the grocery store. What's behind the surge ahead of the Easter holiday?
Covering Ithaca and all of Tompkins County. From ICTV News, this is Newswatch.
Good evening and welcome to Newswatch. I'm Andreas Rendon.
And I'm Jordan Broking. Earlier tonight, community members met to discuss how to improve transportation in parts of Ithaca. ICTV's Grant Johnson was at the meeting and joins us with the latest on the proposed developments. Grant?
That's right, guys. The meeting actually just wrapped up here at the Cultivare restaurant in downtown Ithaca. There was about 40 people in attendance, both in person and online, and this meeting was called together to address the electric mobility grant that the TCAT could be getting. That grant is $7 million, and so they wanted to pull members of the community together to give their input as to where they think that this money should go. The end of the meeting ended with a public info session where people could voice their opinions and say where they think that money should go. But the beginning of the meeting started with some words from Acting Mayor Laura Lewis, who's actually the TCAT Board of Directors. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
This is a major grant opportunity, and TCAT is grateful to the state for making us a finalist in the statewide competition. This $7 million prize can help transform how we provide transportation services here in the urban core, and as we're always concerned with serving underserved portions of our community, such as West Hill and a number of the rural parts of our community that TCAT serves as well.
And at the end of that clip there, Laura Lewis is referencing those underrepresented communities. One of the big communities that was talked a lot about tonight is the West Hill. It's become a big focus of this project because of the amount of apartment complexes that are in that area, which is on the outskirts of the town, and the lack of transportation options that are not available in that area. They say that if they get the $7 million grant, if they get the $7 million, they would put those resources towards that area. They would be notified by late 2022 if they did get this grant, and the transportation services would be implemented by 2024. I'm Grant Johnson reporting live in downtown Ithaca for ICTV News.
Thank you so much, Grant. And over on the East Hill, a team of students at Cornell University are working together to create a fuel-efficient vehicle. The group Cornell Electric Vehicles has over 60 members, and they competed this week at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Shell Eco Marathon. Their vehicle, which they've been working on for 2 years now, competed at the competition and was tested traveling at a set distance, aiming to use the least amount of energy possible. And the team is still awaiting competition results. And last Friday, all 3 Starbucks stores in Ithaca unionized in a landslide victory, making it the first city in the U.S. to do so. ICTV's Emily Hung has been following the story now for quite some time, and she's right here in the studio with us to take a look at what is next. Emily.
Thanks, Andreas. The vote comes months after Starbucks employees at all 3 locations first began organizing earlier this year. Their efforts met resistance from Starbucks, with baristas and union organizers reporting pushback from the company's management. But now that they've successfully unionized, you might be wondering what's next. Starbucks will now meet at the bargaining table with the union, creating a total of 3 contracts, one for each store in Ithaca. These contracts will include proposals set forth by the union, such as higher wages and better benefits, COVID policies agreed upon by both sides. But here's the catch. There's no timeline for this. Under the current labor relations law in the U.S., there isn't a requirement for Starbucks to reach any agreement with the union. So unless there's serious pressure placed on the company, they can take their time reaching an agreement with workers. And in fact, from recent news in the Wall Street Journal, Starbucks is preparing to expand worker benefits that might exclude unionized workers. Andreas?
So just one quick little question. How long do you think it'll take Ithaca Starbucks locations to actually come to an agreement on a contract with a larger company?
That's a question on everyone's minds right now. I spoke with Kathy Creighton, who's Cornell University's Industrial and Labor Relations Director for their office in Buffalo. And she says this process can take months to years in some cases. It requires help from the public to place pressure on Starbucks that'll actually force them to have to sign a contract. From a corporation's perspective, the longer they can drag out this process, the better it is for them, because more workers will lose hope and interest in winning benefits after unionizing. But this isn't good for the union's morale. A barista who works at the Starbucks on the Commons tells me she's already filled out a document in regards to the bargaining efforts. Workers are hoping they can come to an agreement within a few months.
All right, thanks Emily for that. 2 Republican candidates have filed enough petition signatures to run for Ithaca's vacant mayoral seat. Now they're facing off against each other in a way that could threaten their spot on the ballot. Candidate Zachary Wen has filed a general objection with the Tompkins County Board of Elections, claiming that William Metro's signatures are invalid. Metro, known around the community as the Magic Man, submitted exactly the 37 signatures he needed. It's unclear the specific nature of Wen's complaints. However, if the process continues, he'll have to specify his objections next week. In order for a signature to be valid, the person must be a resident of the city of Ithaca and registered under the same party as the candidate. And the state comptroller's office is telling the town of Ulysses it must update its IT system and cybersecurity measures. The audit of the systems was conducted throughout last summer and fall, and the results were released by the comptroller's office on April 1st. The key findings of the audit showed that the town had inadequate IT systems, including a lack of a contingency plan in case of disruptions like those caused by natural disasters or hardware failures. Other findings included mismanagement of local user accounts and no written agreement between the town and their IT provider. The town of Ulysses says the process of updating it is well underway. And now turning to the weather, meteorologist Sam Copland has a look at the current conditions outside. Sam?
Yeah, so currently we're looking outside of ICTV studios, looking out over Cayuga Lake. It was kind of a messy afternoon, but it's looking like it's going to be a nice evening out there. Now, coming up in your full forecast, we're going to talk about how long the nice weather will last and if there's any precipitation on the way, maybe even some snow. We'll get to that and more. Stay tuned.
All right, Sam, looking forward to it. And now, earlier this month, one local distillery won 2 awards at the 2022 Denver International Spirits Competition. Mushroom Spirits Distilleries, located on the Cayuga Lake Wine Trail, makes vodka infused with mushrooms grown from their farm, Blue Oyster Cultivation, right here in Ithaca. Their Hen of the Woods vodka won 2 awards, placing first in the Best of Class category and second in the Best of Show category. Owner Wendy Rizzo said that she was surprised when they won, as this was their first competition that the distillery has entered their spirits into.
That was very surprising, very, very surprising. And in fact, they called us the next day just to say, we wanted to make sure you saw that, the results came out. And he said that it was really astounding for a flavored vodka to place so high. He said that the judges just went crazy over it. So that felt pretty good.
And if you're looking to try any of their mushroom-infused products, you can find them at the farmers market, or you can also book an experience at their own tasting room.
Well, we're approaching a big holiday weekend with Passover starting tomorrow and Easter this Sunday, which means businesses across Ithaca are gearing up to help you celebrate. This weekend, there will be a few Easter egg hunts for the kids. One Brookendale Community Center on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. At the same time, there will be an Easter fest at Stewart Park with an egg hunt, inflatables, prizes, and more. For dining options, on Easter Sunday, multiple places are hosting brunch, including Cultivare, the Inn at Tagana Falls, Monks on the Commons, and Greek Peak Mountain Resort. For Passover, both Cornell and Ithaca College will be holding a Seder dinner for the community. At Cornell on Friday, Seder will be held at Robert Purcell Marketplace Eatery, and on Saturday will be held at 104 West. At Ithaca College, 2 Seders will be held on Friday, 1 traditional and 1 musical in Emerson Suites. On Saturday, Seder will be held in Muller Chapel. Both Ithaca College and Cornell Seders require registration, and information can be found on their respective websites. And coming up after the break, the suspect in the New York subway attack was arraigned in court today. The charges he's facing. Plus, today marks 50 days since Russia officially invaded Ukraine. We'll have a look at the latest in the ongoing conflict when we return.
James is accused of releasing smoke bombs and dozens of bullets in a train full of commuters on Tuesday. 10 people were shot, but all are expected to survive.
James made his first appearance in federal court this morning, with prosecutors saying he terrified the entire city. He is charged with federal terrorism offense, which pertains to violent attacks on mass transit. Authorities say there is no evidence connecting him to terror organizations, including international or domestic.
Now, investigators are still working to determine a possible motive, and his lawyers are asking that James be given a mental health evaluation. And New York Governor Kathy Hochul is looking for a new running mate after her Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin resigned on Tuesday. Benjamin was arrested the same day shortly after and is now facing bribery and campaign finance charges. Hochul originally expressed her support for Benjamin during the federal investigation, but later accepted his resignation after the arrest was made. And now, due to New York State election laws, removing Benjamin from Hochul's ticket will be a little bit difficult on paper, even though the governor now intends to run separately from Benjamin. And for the latest on the war in Ukraine, today now marks 50 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine officially began. The U.S. and the EU have pledged an additional combined $1.3 billion in military aid for the country. This comes as Russia prepares to launch an eastern offensive. And Russia's flagship in the Black Sea is suffering significant damage after Ukraine attacked the ship overnight. Russia has confirmed that the ship has now sunk. And U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan talked about the attack as a major setback for Russia.
We've been in touch with the Ukrainians overnight who have said that they struck the ship with anti-ship missiles. We don't have the capacity at this point to independently verify that, but certainly the way that this unfolded, it's a big blow to Russia. This is their flagship, the Moscow, and they have now been forced to admit that it has been badly damaged.
Plus, on the grounds in Ukraine, Ukrainian officials say that more than 100 bodies have been discovered after Russian forces left the Sumy region of northeastern Ukraine.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a 15-week abortion ban into law earlier today. This comes as the state joins a growing conservative effort to restrict abortion access ahead of a Supreme Court decision that could limit the procedure nationwide. The new law, which takes effect July 1st, contains exceptions if the procedure is necessary to save the mother's life, prevent serious injury, or if the fetus has a fatal abnormality. Florida's current law allows abortions up to 24 weeks. The new law is a significant blow to abortion access in the South, as Florida had historically provided wider access. And the Biden administration announced yesterday that it is extending the nationwide mask requirement for airplanes and public transport for 15 days. This comes as COVID cases are on the rise yet again. The order was originally set to expire on April 18th. The expiration date is now pushed to May 3rd. This to allow more time to study the BA.2 Omicron subvariant, which now accounts for the majority of cases in the U.S. In addition to this, the Biden administration also extended for 90 days a public health emergency that has been in place since early 2020. With rising cases, however, hospitalizations still remain low. According to the CDC, in the U.S., the 7-day average of reported COVID deaths is about 500 a day. This down significantly from peak numbers.